105,000 years ago, someone was already collecting things. We know that because in the Kalahari Desert, scientists have found crystals from different regions of the continent that can give no other explanation than being brought there by someone who collected it before. Hey guys, it's a patient toddler coming at you with another video, and in this one, you guessed it, we are talking about collecting and how the mind of a collector works. As investors, we should know that because then we know where our investment is going. As investors, we should know that because we can derive from it how our investment will develop over time and if it's time to buy more, to hold, or to exit. But before we start, please keep in mind that I'm a crypto and NFT investor and not a financial advisor, so please do your own research before you ape into the VEVE collectibles, any other collectibles, or into crystals from the Kalahari Desert. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider leaving a like, subscribe to my channel, tap the bell to always get notified whenever I upload a video, and let me know in the comments below what you think about collecting and the investment into VEVE collectibles. Now with that out of the way, let's get started. We know our lives are entangled with things, and the earliest archaeological records show that ownership of objects is a universal phenomenon that has existed across time, cultures, and people, says Chiara Timpano, University of Miami, is a professor for psychology. I did some extensive research on the reasons why people are collecting, and there are many reasons, and the best or most impressive reasons, in my opinion, I want to show you here. The first one, and in my opinion one of the most obvious reasons, is connecting ourselves with childhood. Either we are still a child, children love collecting, such as Pokemon cards or Playmobil toys or other stuff, but also we like to relive our childhood and collect special things that remind us of our childhood. I think a lot of people that invest and collect VEVE collectibles can relate to that. Another thing is just the appreciation of the variety of a special thing that exists or a special category, and you just feel the urge to collect many variants of this special category. Some people just want to connect with another time that has passed a long time and that is not really relivable for us because we were not alive at this point, but also could be the connection to a specific time when we were alive already. For example, the 70s or the 60s, whatever time touches the emotions of a certain person. Then there is also the factor that collecting can connect you to other people, and especially to other people that are collecting the same type or even the same collectible item. Then there is people that are collecting figures or objects that relate to a personality that they want to be or have the characteristics and traits of that personality, of that person, to live up to, such as superheroes that just represent how these people want to be. But there is more. Some people invest in collectibles, physical such as digital now, as a store of value. For them it's only an investment. Some people collect to learn more about things. Imagine you have a butterfly connection. By now, as it fills up, you will know all the names of the butterflies that you have already collected. And then there is a deeply rooted psychological component in collecting that relates to our very first beginnings as human beings, keeping things together and creating a sense of being able to control and put in order to at least a little part of the world. Others are collecting to show off a specific status, how noble they are and how much they can afford. And for some people it has similar effects to meditation. It reduces stress, it keeps their mind off of things that they don't want to think about. Some people collect to appreciate the beauty of a specific thing, and for a lot of people, collecting represents competition, because there are other people that are collecting the same things, such as Pokemon cards, such as coins, such as stamps, and many people want to build out or max out an impressive collection that they can show to others and compete with them who has which rare parts of a collection. There is also the thrill of the hunt, of being able to complete another step of the collection. The completionism and the quest and the way of the path of the collection is what thrills people. Because if you would be collecting something and someone just gave the complete set, the complete collection to you, it wouldn't hold as much value as if you went after each piece for yourself and completed it by yourself, to then show your collection that actually tells a story on how you completed that collection. So in my opinion, these are all great reasons to collect, and most of the people in the world have at least one of these reasons, and this is why they are collecting a specific thing. And as we will see later, almost everyone has at least the urge to collect something, and that gives us a potential of 7 to 8 billion potential collectors on the planet. But there are also different types of collectibles in the world that are not addressing all of these collector groups. In fact, some are for some people of these, like appreciation of beauty, and for others it's easier to compete in other categories, such as this category of unique pieces of art of painters like Picasso. There is only one piece of that, and you cannot really compete on how you collected as many Picassos, because there are so few Picassos that the circle and the community where you're competing within would be very, very small. So there are other reasons than competitions to this one, like the appreciation of beauty of the art, or connecting to a specific time and to a specific feeling of the time. And here is an example that I personally can relate to. When I was in Brazil, there was the Olympic Games at the time, and they released the 1 real coin with different sports types on the backside. So probably I could have just bought the complete set somewhere, and 1 real represented around $20 or 25 euro cents at the time, but instead I went to every cashier in the city and asked them if they have any coins that I can switch out with a normal 1 real coin, so that I could complete my collection. And now I have that collection with me, with the Olympic mascot and all the sports, and I have even that story and the memories of how I went to each and every one for weeks to find the last pieces of that collection. Now, the collection itself probably doesn't hold so much value, as they have released a lot of coins. But in combination with the story and the possibility to show it to someone and tell that story, it holds a lot of personal value to me. But there is another factor to this, and this is that each and every one can start a coin collection, but the dedication and the effort that you are putting into that will define if you manage to complete one set of coins or even many sets, and how big your collection will be in the end, and how many rare pieces you have in that collection. So if you are competing within a circle, you will make friendships, you will have connections to other collectors, you will be even able to help each other out and exchange one coin for another to help someone else to also complete the collection, which in the same time that you are competing, you're also helping each other. Sounds like contradiction, but in the end, it's just fair sports, right? So now we are coming closer to the topic of VEVE. Yeah, I know, Pokemon not confirmed and so on, but the reason why I put this up here is the following. For one piece 20 years ago, and for the other piece, I think 80 to 90 years ago, that was just a piece of comic or card that you could pull out somewhere or buy somewhere, and it didn't hold as much value in those days. I think the comic, the first Marvel ever, went for 10 cents at the time, when the Pokemon card Charizard probably wasn't worth $50,000 at the time. Whoever has and owns these pieces has either dedicated a lot of time and money to find them, or has entered early and bought them cheaper, almost never knowing what they will be worth a couple of years or decades later. Obviously, we don't want to wait decades for our VeVe collectibles to reach these types of value. But before we go into what defines the value of these collectibles ultimately, why collecting NFTs and digital objects is different, we want to take a quick look at some variety that we can find now within the space of NFTs. And there is, for example, the one of unique objects that are coming out of a specific series, and that is basically the combination of coins and Picasso. There are many of them, but none of those exists more than one time. So we have the CryptoPunks and the Bored Apes here, and if I'm not mistaken, there are 10,000 different but unique pieces of those NFTs, and still each and every one of those holds life-changing value right now. Had you gotten in early, you would have made a ton of money, and now they became a status symbol because these are some very, very early pieces. Since then, many projects try to replicate that, but the problem with these projects of all crossovers of CryptoPunks and Bored Apes is that they are only replicating what is already there. And this is where we come to the VeVe collectibles, because most of them, not all of them, but most of them have a unique value proposition, which is an IP brand license behind those collectibles, which makes it different from most of the other collectibles in the NFT space. And yes, there are artists like a Picasso that are creating something that will hold millions of dollars per piece. Even now, there will be special artists that will be able to create such things and attract a larger community for a scarce amount of items. And you will find some of them on OpenSea and some of them on other exchanges, and some of those artists that can make a name for themselves you will find on VeVe as well. But the big point here is that with licensed NFTs, you do not have to find that specific artist that is going to explode in the future. And here is why. Let me start with this abstract from a study that has been published in Science Daily from the University of Iowa in 2005. And it says here, most people have a collection of some kind at some point in their lives. Indeed, historical studies show that acquiring and retaining objects, even when they are not necessary for survival, is not only nearly universal, but also has been part of human behavior since the earliest human societies. So as we see, collecting is an ancient behavior that we have already seen since the earliest human societies. Now you can make the test and pick out whatever licensed collectible and Google for a collection. It took me literally 5 seconds to find these two Batman collections. And by the way, there is even a Superman hanging within that Batman collection. But the point here of these collections is that you will find many collectors within one specific community that are all collecting more or less the same type of collectibles. So there are thousands and hundreds of thousands of Batman collectors, Superman collectors, Pokemon collectors, Star Wars collectors, movie poster collectors, and so on and so on. If we look at this article of the 19 totally insane collections of things around the world, and I will link the article below because I'm not going to show all of those collections, but I want to show some of those. Now we have a guy that is collecting Barbies, and it seems that he has almost every Barbie. There is a guy that even tries to look like Superman that collects everything around Superman. This guy is collecting apparently everything around Simpsons. It looks familiar to, for example, Golden Homer. I bet he would like to have a Golden Homer from VeVe. Or maybe he has. There is this guy that is somehow collecting toys and cubes. And now, if you've wondered if you're investing in some digital collectible and you think how is there a community for a couple of hundred things? Then you look at these examples and you will find your answer, because if these are insane collections, there are still very impressive collections that are only a fraction of what these guys have. Now finally, let's get to the point how we could as investors choose some collectibles and determine if they will have a greater value or not. So this is something that I made up, and I wouldn't claim that this is perfect, and probably there are other factors and variables to it, but I think we can go with this. And also there should be probably 5 categories. There should be the one category that doesn't even have scarcity, but I was thinking that is like collecting whatever stones, for example, that are lying around the beach, which I will exclude for now. So the first collectible type would be one that is there but only has scarcity and nothing else. So some object that VEVE would launch, and there are 2,500 objects, and probably at the moment those would sell out within 1 second as well, as we know it from VEVE, because people at the moment are buying everything. But would they hold value over time just by being scarce and having nothing behind it? And then there is the combination of scarcity and intellectual property and brand. This is a lot which we have already on the VEVE app, and this could be whatever licensed collectible that has some artist or some brand behind it, but this is still not really the collectible that I am looking for. And then there is the combination, which is in my opinion really good, which is scarcity plus IP and brand plus community. And that's what we are finding for most of those collectibles that already have shot up in value, because if you have the license and intellectual property secured in a scarce item, and then a bigger community that you can attract with it, like Marvel comic fans or Star Wars fans or whatever other bigger community that has formed around a movie, around a PC game, around an artist as well, because some artists have quite a big fan base, and if you put that into relationship of the scarcity, you can determine why if that value can shoot up as much as another collectible. So these 3 categories account for physical objects as well as digital objects. But there is one factor that distinguishes the NFTs from the physical counterparts, and that is the accessibility. By having a marketplace where you only have to pull out your phone and open the app to find a scarce item or an item that you want to buy or that you want to use, like a comic, it is just easy to access on a phone. For a physical one, to find one, to prove its authenticity, and to get it to your home to then possess it or use it, and the perfect example here would be a Pokemon booster box of the first print edition, you have to do a lot of effort, and that itself reduces the possible community and the potential to reach as many people as possible to be interested in that item by a lot. Now, if we go back to our 2 collectibles that have reached an insane value, these 2 collectibles had all the 3 first categories, but they did lack the 4th, and that is the accessibility. It is way harder to find a graded Marvel comic of the first edition, and you would probably have to do a lot of phone calls to find the auction, then probably drive there or participate by phone to get it in the end, and then also go through the whole effort to prove and to certify that this is really an original version of a graded Marvel comic. The same accounts for the holographic Charizard of the first edition, or Shadowless, or whatever you want to find. It is very hard to find one and then prove that it's authentic, and then get there to make the deal, or make the deal online and have it sent to your home. So there is this factor, and that is why I think that the NFTs within VEVE, but also some of the NFTs on other NFT exchanges, some of those projects will not only exceed the value of those items, but also do that in way less time, because they can build up communities that have never been seen before for collectibles. Because as we have seen in this video now, everyone has a collector in himself, and bringing collecting via app on the smartphone of so many people is way more visibility and accessibility for collectibles that are actually very scarce. And that, my VEVE fam and fellow collectors, is the reason why I think that the VEVE collectibles will make a lot of people insanely rich, and that even if you started today and you're waiting for your first drop, you are still early in this market, and that you can still make life-changing money off of. There is one more small example of Robert Lesser that should make you really bullish on your VEVE collectibles, and here it comes. A true collector, but also a visionary with an ability to change his own course. He funded his subsequent collections by building a fine collection of Disney memorabilia before anyone else was interested, then selling it for a 7-figure sum once the collecting world caught up with him. So this is a guy that started collecting Disney collectibles before everyone else, or at least getting in early, and then was able to sell it for a fortune. So for every one of you who is an investor, that should be very interesting. And with that, I'm already at the end of this video. Have yourselves a great morning, evening, day, night and afternoon. Take a look at your awesome collections and see you in the next video.